Lightning Force on the Sega Genesis. Lightning Force, as it's spelled for this video game, actually refers to the fact that they've reduced the amount of force that they're applying. They are in fact lightening the force against the enemy, yet still causing just as much destruction. This game is actually Thunder Force 4. I think the rest of the world got this game as Thunder Force 4, but they gave us Americans Lightning Force. And I'm not sure why they did that. Perhaps they thought that lightning actually creates thunder, so you're in fact using more force. But the way that they've spelled it, because the electrical kind of lightning does not have an E in the spelling. It's not lightening. Lightning is a completely different word from that stuff that comes out of the sky and electrocutes people and blows up windmills and stuff. Now that doesn't change the fact that this is one of the best video games on the Sega Genesis, and they could have called this game Potato Force, and they could have added an E to the end of potato like Dan Quayle would have done, and it would have still been one of the best video games on the Sega Genesis. We could go further. Lightning could also refer to making it more cheerful, and that you're lightening the situation. Lightning could refer to reducing woes or worries. And there's actually a medical term for lightning. I don't think that's what this game's about, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Moving on, we'll just assume that lightning refers to the cool stuff that comes out of the sky and electrocutes people as a destructive force. Because that's what you are in this game. You're a one-man destructive force in a spaceship whose sole mission is to shoot down lots of enemies, blow up end bosses, and wreak destruction across all different kinds of landscapes. We have desert levels, water levels, lava levels. This game's got pretty much all these stereotypical side-scrolling shooting levels covered. And the thing is, it does it well. You know, Classic Game Room loves any video game with explosions, spaceships, and ninjas. Sadly, there's no ninjas in this game, but they certainly have explosions covered. The Thunder Force series is one of my favorites, especially on the Sega Genesis. Love Thunder Force 2, Thunder Force 3, and I don't know why they didn't just call this game Thunder Force 4, considering they'd already branded the other two games. It seems like a very bizarre marketing decision. If you've played any of the other Thunder Force games on the Genesis, you're familiar with the fact that Technosoft made tremendous, solid video games with great gameplay, creative music, creative backgrounds. They use a lot of the same sound effects and the voice dialogue when the lady tells you what weapon you're getting. A lot of that stuff is shared between the other games. It's all familiar. Brought back Hunter, which is my favorite weapon, and it should be everybody else's favorite weapon, because who doesn't like just hanging out in the corner of the screen launching the Hunter weapon at various enemies all around you and just seeing them explode into flames. And I just like to hear her say Hunter. Hunter, Hunter, Hunter. Brings back memories of the TV show, but not really. At first glance, when you start playing Lightning Force, it doesn't seem like it's an improvement over Thunder Force 3, which is an incredible game in its own right, and one of my favorites on the Genesis. But as you progress through the initial 4 levels and start making your way through the video game, this game unfolds in a wonderful manner with great level design, creative end bosses. It's very challenging, but not too challenging to the point where it gets frustrating and you want to stomp on it. This is almost a perfect shooter, and is a game that if you don't own or haven't played on the Genesis, that you should immediately run out and add this to your collection. I remember renting this game way back in the day because I had Thunder Force 3. The good thing is this game won't cost you much today, and it should entertain you for hours and hours on end. All the familiar side-scrolling shooting stuff is here. You have various weapons that you pick up. You pick up those things that spin around your ship and basically triple the output of your gunfire. There's end bosses. You can get a shield every now and then. You get extra lives. You can increase or decrease the speed of your spaceship at your own control, which is nice. So it's not one of those games where if you get shot, you lose your speed and then you end up being a sitting duck for the rest of the game. I don't have the instruction manual for the game, and I can't remember with storyline, but at some point in the game you get a whole bunch of other spaceships with you and they help you destroy stuff. And that's always good. It's nice to have friends that help you destroy things, especially when there's spaceships. The backgrounds are clever, the colors are very nice. This game looks incredible when you have your Sega Genesis modified to output S-Video. This is one of the best looking video games on any game system, not just the Sega Genesis. The Genesis excelled at two-dimensional side-scrollers, and Technosoft excelled at making great video games. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. I thought they were going to all form Devastator or Voltron or something, but I think they just install a new intercooler on your spaceship and then give you these fantasy orb things that now act as your role. I have no idea what that lady's saying when you get the power up and have those things spin around you. It sounds like Krull, which would be okay if she said Krull, because that was a great movie and also a good Atari game. I'm still waiting for Sega to make a new Sega Genesis that has HDMI output for 720p and 1080p. As with any game by Technosoft, whether it's Herzog's Y or something in the Thunder Force series, the music is incredible. They were able to make such rocking soundtracks with the Sega Genesis, but this original score and Lightning Force and the other scores on Thunder Force 3, Thunder Force 2 deserve a lot of attention. And as the game progresses, the bad guys and end bosses increase in difficulty. That's lightening force. And know that when you're playing it, you're not lightening the load to help a friend out. You're lightening the enemy of their lives by taking it from them in a fiery explosion of death. And that's what we call Force by Lightning, aka Lightning Force, on the Sega Genesis.